Hey guys, today I'll be solving a question of process costing, which includes the treatment of WIP, which is work in progress. So this question can be solved in two ways, which is FIFO method and weighted average method. But today I'll be solving this in FIFO method. So let's begin. And yeah, like, share and subscribe. Hey guys, today we'll be solving a question of process costing, which includes work in progress. Work in progress generally has two methods to solve it. It's FIFO and weighted average. And in this video, I'll be explaining you how to solve process costing problems including work in progress with FIFO method. So let's begin. First, we need to make a statement of equivalent production. Alright? So let's have a question first. So we'll be solving question number 36. I'll be giving you a screenshot of this question so that you can refer it later on. The opening work in progress is 1000 units, 60% completed, cost rupees 1100, which means to complete 1000 units or 60% 1000 units, the total cost incurred is 1100. Alright, units introduced during the period 10,000 units, cost rupees 19,300, transfer to the next process is 9,000 units. So in the new process, the units introduced were 10,000 units and the cost was 19,300, and the transfer to the next process was 9,000 units. Closing work in progress 800 units, which were 75% completed. Normal loss is estimated at 10% of total input including units in process at the beginning, which means 10% of the inputs included, which is brought this year, included this year, and also the process in the beginning, which means opening. Alright. Scrap realized at rupees 1 per unit. Scrap is 100% completed. Alright. So compute evaluate production, equivalent production, cost per equivalent units, value of output using FIFO method. Alright. So we'll be starting with the statement of production. Okay. So first, the main thing we do this is to find out the rates, which are the equivalent rates. Equivalent rates are found because in this problems there are work in progress. So when there's work in progress from process 1 or process 2, whatever you're bringing forward, the rates are different in individual processes. So it's difficult to calculate the final product rate. So in work in progress rate, we use equivalent units method. Alright, so let's begin. First, I've already prepared the format for you. As costing doesn't have any specific format, you can do whatever you desire. So first, there's particulars, total, and here we'll add the percentage breakup and then the units. Alright, so let's see the question and do it. So in the question we can see opening work in progress is 1000 units, which is 60% complete, and this year we have brought in 10,000 units. So first let's write this as opening WIP, which is 1000 units introduced $10,000, alright, which is a total of 11,000 units. Okay. So now we'll calculate the output. So we can see that the in the question we can see that WIP is 800 and the completion is 75%. Alright, WIP is 800 and the completion is 75%. So first point, we can write WIP, which is 800, which 75% complete, and so the 75% of 800 is 600. This is the output, which means in this process 800 units, 75% were completed, which means the work done here is 600 units. Alright, means the work done here is 600 units. In normal loss will be here we can see the normal loss is estimated at 10% of total inputs included units in process at the beginning. So total inputs, which is 10,000, and units in the opening is 1,000, which is a total of 11,000. So which is 1100, which means 11,000, 10%. So as it's normal loss, the unit equivalent values are not included because normal loss is predetermined. Then for finished goods, output from opening. See, at the opening we had 10,000 units, which were 60% completed, which means that 40% work is done in this process. So 1,000 units, 40% work done in this process, which is 400. And output from introduced. So we don't know how much is output from the introduced, so we'll keep a blank for the time being. But we know that the transfer to the next process was 9,000. So we can say that transfer to the next process, finished goods, were 9,000. So the output from the introduced will be 9,000 minus 1,000, which is 8,000. Alright, I'll explain this again. The transfer to the next process were 9,000 units. Alright, so 9,000 units were transferred to the next units from 1,000 units from the opening, and we can see that remaining will be 8,000, as this will be the balancing figure, as 9,000 minus 1,000 is 8,000. Alright, and this, as there is finished goods, the 100% is completed, which amounts to 8,000. Alright. So now let's have a total. See, this is the subtotal, so you don't need to calculate this. It will be 9,000 together. So we can see 9,000 plus 1,100 plus 800, which is 10,900, which is 10,900, and here it's 11,000, which means we will have an abnormal loss of 100, which is the balancing figure. an abnormal loss, and the abnormal loss is always 100% complete, so it will be 100. Alright, and this sums to 11,000, and here we can also calculate, which is 1900. Alright, so I'll just give you a basic recap on this. First, we need to write the opening WIP, which is 1000. The opening WIP, which is 1000. Then the units introduced 10,000, which amounts to 11,000. Then the WIP, which closing WIP, which is as the output is 800. 75% is completed in this process, so we'll be writing 75%, which amounts to 600. Then we'll calculate normal loss on the total output, on the total value, as it's mentioned here that normal loss is estimated at 10% of the inputs included units in process at the beginning, which means the inputs introduced plus from the beginning, with so 11,000, 10%, which is 1100. Then we'll calculate the output at the beginning, which is 10,000, and it needs to be completed more 40% because we have already done 60%, which amounts to 400 here. And as the total transfer was 9,000 units, which means output from this introduced was 8,000, because we can see that if it is completed, 9,000 was transferred, so and 1,000 from the work in progress, then the remaining will be transferred from introduced, which is 8,000. So this is the balancing figure from these two. Alright, so then when we balance this all the figures, we get the deficit here, which is 100 rupees, which is the abnormal loss. Alright, so next, now we'll be moving on to the next part of the question, which is the statement of cost. So here, the statement of the cost, first we'll have the particulars column. So now we can see this is the cost incurred is in this year's process is 19,300. So now we'll be writing here cost during the year, which is 19,300. As there is normal loss and the normal loss is sold at the scrap value 1 per unit, so we will deduct the scrap cost from the total cost in the year. So realized value from scrap is, as normal loss is 1100 into 1 rupees, which is 1100, so we'll deduct this, which amounts to 18,200, which is the net cost. Now this is an important part. The net cost needs to be divided by the total equivalent units. We have already calculated the total equivalent units, which is 19, which is 1900. This is the equivalent column because here we have taken the percentages and the equivalent values have come up. So this amount is the total equivalent units. So now it's a 9100, which amounts to 2. Alright. So now is the basic and easy part. We'll be calculating the allocation of cost. So particulars, rupees. A will do finished goods. Output of opening WIP, which is output from the opening WIP, which is 400. We'll always take the equivalent values. So 400 is on the output from the opening. So here we'll write 400 into the rate which we have calculated to. It's 800, and also we'll calculate cost already incurred, which is 1100, which is already given in the question as the cost which has already been incurred, as 60% was complete in the WIP. So cost already incurred will be 1100, which amounts to 1922 as finished output cost. Alright, so now we'll be calculating output from introduced. As we can see, the output from the introduced was 8000 as the equivalent amount. So, and the rate we have calculated as 2. So 8000 into 2 is 16,000. Now the allocation of cost for abnormal loss. As the abnormal loss was the balancing figure, which is 100. Then we'll multiply it with the rate, and also we need to write the closing WIP, which is 600, as this is the output, and this much has been the equivalent amount of the closing WIP. So we'll also write it in the allocation of cost as abnormal loss is 100 into 200, and the closing WIP, which is 600 into 2. It sums up of all the costs, this one, and this, which is 1900. Alright, so just give a quick recap. The opening WIP was 1000 units. We have written it in opening. Then introduced is 10,000, which total amounts to 11,000. Then we'll calculate output, as WIP in this was 800 and 75% was complete, and the work done will be 600. Then we'll calculate a normal loss on this value as it is given in the question. 10% is 1100. Then we'll be calculating as finished goods. Output from the opening is 10,000 was the WIP, and 40% is yet to be completed, as 60 is already completed. So for 40% of 1000 is 400. Output from the introduced will be 8,000, as the total transferred is 9,000. So the balancing figure will be 8,000, which is output from the introduced, which always, as it is a finished good, it needs to be completely complete. So it will be 100%, which will be 8,000. The next, we'll be calculating the statement of cost. First, we'll write the cost during the year, which is already given in the question as 19,300. Then we'll decrease the realized value, as it is from the cost, from the realized value of the normal loss, which can be sold as scrap, and as 1 rupees, and of 1100 units, it's 1100. The net cost is 18,200, and we'll divide it by the total equivalent units, which is 9100, which amounts to 2 per unit. Right? Then we'll do allocation of cost, finished output from the opening WIP, as it will always take the equivalent values, which is 400 into 2. Then cost already incurred, which is given in the question. This is the output from finished goods. The output from the introduced is 8,000 into 2. 8,000 is the equivalent units of the output from the introduced. 16,000. Normal loss is 100. We'll all 200, and closing WIP is 600, which amounts to 1200, and the total cost will be 19,300. Just remember that always we need to take out the we'll always need to calculate the allocation of cost by the equivalent units. And the equivalent units is calculated here by dividing the total cost during the year minus the realized value, whatever we have taken from scrap, divided by the equivalent units, which will have been calculated in the equivalence table. Alright, that's all for today's video. If you liked it, please like, share and subscribe, and comment your views, and please share your views on the comment section and DM me on Instagram for further video ideas. Thank you.
Breathe in the air, the light that surrounds me. If we hold ourselves together, we'll go far. Created a space